What's happening, guys? And welcome to the live stream for Chelsea versus Tottenham player ratings and reaction to last night's 2-0 first leg Carabao Cup semi-final win over our London rivals, made all the sweeter by the fact that Antonio Conte was returning to the bridge and got truly humbled by Tommy T's boys. Joining me to go through this is my brother, mate. It was a great game last night. I thought we played really well. Obviously, great to get the Lukaku situation finally put to bed. He was back in the starting lineup. Good to see that he got a pretty good reception from the fans as well. So that's nice to see. And he just now needs to put the performances in on the pitch to kind of fully win them back. But I'm glad that's put to bed because that was an unnecessary distraction. Just briefly before we move on, what did you make of the whole Lukaku debacle? And, Thomas Tuchel's dealt with it really, really well. And it's just a case of now put that to bed and Lukaku just needs to do his business on the pitch.
Player interviews, foreign language player interviews in another country are just ripe for this kind of situation. The British media love it. I think that there was an element of lost in translation in this. I get that he was saying what he was saying, but it was ostensibly his sort of farewell to the Interfans where he had a really sick time. And although I think that a lot of the stuff that he said should not be said and is quite quizzical and just a weird thing to say whilst you're playing for another club and you know that everyone's going to hear it, I think it was fanned up quite a lot and ultimately set in place a set of episodes which had to happen. Tuchel had to leave him out. And then he did, and then the apology happened, and then we are where we are. I think everything that happened made sense to me. I think Tuchel did a great job in handling it, not just in leaving him out, but in the way he handled the questions as he was being left out and all that. And then the conversations happened privately as they should. I thought Lukaku's statement or interview that he did was good. And now he's back in, and it's all calm. That's how you deal with this shit. I think we did a good job. I think the whole thing's silly, but dealt with.
Yeah, I actually think he had a pretty good game last night. I mean, not amazing, but he got into some good positions. His finishing was a little bit off, which we'll come on to a bit later. But with the new kind of system we had to deploy, I thought actually the positions he got into, it allowed him to be a lot more, to do a lot more running, take up different positions, etc. Thought that was quite promising, and it's another good option to have going forward. But back to the game last night. Obviously, we got the news. Well, Chelsea would have known a day or so before. Tuchel said they obviously found out that Kante and Thiago Silva tested positive for COVID a couple of days ago. So they were both going to start. Tuchel was saying, and they basically had one day on the training pitch to practice this new system. When you see the news that obviously those two key players are missing through COVID, you're sort of thinking, oh no, here we go again. Liverpool getting their game postponed, and we're just thinking, oh, is there going to be another kind of December pile-up? But it's kind of fallen at a reasonable time in terms of the fact that, okay, yeah, this is a big semi-final, but we've got Chesterfield on the weekend, which those guys wouldn't have played in anyway. By the time the second leg rolls around, it would have been over a week. So they'd probably be able to play some part in that. So all things considered, I guess that's kind of worked out the best it possibly could.
Totally. I also think it's a bit of a mindset thing. I think we feel as though we've been here before. Our backs are up against the wall. We've had the moment where I don't necessarily think the toys went out the pram, but we lacked control. And I think a lot of people in the club, as well as the fans, perhaps more keenly the fans, but I definitely felt it amongst the team, was like, oh Jesus. How is it that we're meant to compete? How is it that we're meant to achieve? How is this a fair situation? And out of that, we've come, and I saw it in the Liverpool performance. I saw it last night, much, sort of against the ropes, coming out fighting, as opposed to being helpless. And it's great to see. I think we dealt with it brilliantly. I think at times last night we looked incredibly slick. In a way that I haven't seen so far this season. So I think it's all a mentality thing at the end of the day. Obviously, up to a point. If if all your good, decent players are out, there's going to be a limit on what you can achieve. But a lot of it's a mentality thing when you're up against it.
Yeah, and I think the players are massively behind Tuchel and fully buy into what he's doing. I think we would have seen in previous years similar situations have happened, and with different managers players would have down tools, and this would have been a big issue, and it would have been the beginning of the end, and we would have seen the manager out the door. So it's great to see that Tuchel's got everyone fully on side, and the fans love him, the players love him. So yeah, that was that's obviously a big plus. But yeah, that was disappointing, but the players responded really well. It just seems that once December's out of the way, we actually know how to play football again. I don't know what it is about that month, but it just luckily next year there's no December football because of the World Cup, so hopefully we won't have to go through a December meltdown. But yeah, obviously Thomas Tuchel extending his semi-final record, unbeaten in semi-finals as a manager, so across Dortmund, PSG and Chelsea, never lost a semi-final. And in reality, we never looked like losing last night from the get-go. I mean, before we get into it, how are you feeling pre-game? Obviously, Antonio Conte's Spurs, he'd been unbeaten in his first 8 Premier League games. He definitely made them look a lot better and a lot more dangerous than when Nuno was there. But ultimately, it was kind of the same old story. Spurs turn up against Chelsea in a semi-final, and they just get rolled over.
Yeah, it was a mixed pre-game. Strong sides Spurs put out, particularly that front three. I like Moura. I really like Lucas Moura, and I think he's going to be big for Spurs under Conte. But I don't know. I wasn't fearful. I wasn't fearful. I just felt, I don't know. I think it is the Tottenham thing. I just felt as though we were going to be able to do a job on them, and particularly, I mean, I know we're talking about pre-game, but the moment it started, I just thought, this could be a trouncing if we put away our chances. And if we did put away our chances, it would have been. But yeah, pre-game, not nervous, actually really confident, particularly after that Liverpool performance. I thought our tempo was fantastic, and I thought, here we go. If we can replicate that, and if we can show the hunger and desire, then we're in.
Yeah, and we showed exactly that. Obviously, a few differences to the lineup due to the COVID cases and certain injuries, particularly at the back. And it looked like we, from the off, were going with kind of a 4-2-2-2 system. Ranić saying that it's tough to do that in England. Well, she should have a watch of that game last night. Tommy T showing him exactly how it's supposed to be done. You know, Havertz and Lukaku causing havoc up front. Really doing well, pinning those Tottenham centre-backs back. Mount and Ziyech were flourishing in those kind of hybrid roles. Mount more in 8 position. Ziyech was balling. He was class. A couple of his deliveries, one for the Rom header and another one where Werner fucked it, obviously. What was unbelievable passing from Ziyech. And, you know, Tuchel singled out him, Saul Ziyech and Malang Sarr for guys that were really, really good last night. Having not played a lot of football, to come into a massive semi-final and drop performances like that, the 3 of those were really, really good last night. But, you know, for once, we get a really, really quick start. Got a goal in the first 5 minutes. And Marcus Alonso, who's coming for a lot of criticism, and ultimately this could well be his last kind of 6 months at Chelsea, could be moved on in the summer, 31 years of age. You imagine we're going to bring someone else in this window as well. If the club get on with it. He did really well. You know, he got the assist for that goal. He plays Havertz in, and it's a nice finish from Kai Havertz. Ultimately, it does take a deflection off the defender, but it doesn't go down as an own goal because the shot was on target from Kai anyway. And it's good to see Havertz getting a goal. He seems to step up in big games, you know, and gets us a goal. He does need to add more to his all-round game, but unfortunately he suffered a dislocated finger. I don't know if you've seen the picture.
I thought it was dislocated. What happened?
Yeah, it's pretty nasty. Dislocated finger. Obviously, they taped it up and stuff, and he carried on till half-time. But yeah, the pain was too much. So obviously, that's why it was ultimately replaced by Werner. But, I mean, a fast start, a goal in the first 5 minutes. And how impressed were you with the quick start and that nice move for the goal?
Yeah, great move for the goal. And sort of Alonso stepping up, looking for that pass, kind of, and looking for that interception, kind of typifies like the front-footed nature of kind of what I was getting on about coming out fighting when you're facing adversity as a club, and I love that. And you know, when Mourinho came in, we would come out of the blocks flying, and I think these fast starts and capitalising on early pressure is something that's lacked in the Chelsea side. And if we're able to get goals earlier, if we're able to get goals during periods of pressure, then I think it's the key to any side's success, but particularly something that I've seen lacking at Chelsea. So it was great to see. It was great to see. And I thought that was curtains. You know, I didn't see Tottenham coming back from that. You know, a little bit of pressure from them early on in the second half, but really didn't see that coming back from us having such a strong start. I liked it. I'm still a bit like, I don't know what you think about Havertz. I don't know what you thought about him last night.
I thought it was good last night, but he needs to do more.
Yeah, I mean, like, wasn't that convincing on the finish? Obviously, goal goes down as his, great. Another chance where the ball falls to him about 10 minutes later. And he takes a first time pretty tame shot, and I just thought, touch it, bang it in.
He's got to score that, yeah.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just don't know what to say about Havertz. Maybe that's what it's like having a player like him on your side, where you just don't really know.
Yeah, no, I think it is. And again, we've got to remember, he still is a young player. He's going to develop further, but it's just that consistency that he needs. And at Chelsea, you need to deliver it more often than not, because otherwise, you know that the club aren't afraid to go and spend money and bring someone else in. I'm not saying we'd sell him, but he could find himself a bit further down the pecking order. So you need to deliver on a consistent basis at Chelsea. So he's shown that he's got the talent and stuff, but like a lot of our forward players, he's got to work on his consistency and his potency in the final third, because we're lacking a lot of clinical finishing there. But I think that will come in time. But yeah, it took the goal well, and yeah, he should be doing better of that second chance. But for as good as we were in that first half, I mean, before I get on to how bad Tottenham were in that first half particularly, what did you reckon of the new system? It looked like a kind of a 4-4-2 in possession, and then Ziyech almost like a right wing back kind of hybrid role, almost like the 4-2-2-2 that United are trying to play at the moment.
Yeah,
I really liked it. I thought we looked good. I think it was purely circumstantial. And if we are going to change formation, then maybe that might be something to look at next season. Maybe try it in some more cup games if the draw is favourable. What did you make of the system? Because I thought I did really like it, but I've just got a feeling it was purely kind of circumstantial on the day.
I imagine it is. I can't see us going through a change like that right now, and to that being something permanent. But felt good, no? Felt like we've got a lot going forward. Felt like we've got good options. Great link-up play. I thought we attacked seriously well down the left-hand side in the first half, looking really tidy, and yeah, not lacking in defence. You hear Thiago Silva going out, and you think, oh, okay, potential issue in organisation.
Yeah, you've got no Christensen, no Caliber.
Exactly, and you're like, okay, this could be problematic. And then you Son, Kane, Mora. You know, if there's a front three that's going to cause you problems in the circumstances, probably them, and not a bit of it. It's obviously down to Tottenham, but I felt like we looked really organised at the back as well. So it's all sort of thumbs up from me in that regard. But I don't really see it making another showing. I don't see this becoming permanent or semi-permanent. Despite the fact that it clearly went well and suits the side that we played last night.
I think it's a really good sign that we look so fluid in multiple formations. Yeah. The 3-5-2, the 3-4-3, and I know this is only a one-off last night, but we did look really good in it, and it's a good option to have if you've got personnel missing or you're looking to switch a game up, be a bit more attacking. What made a big difference was with the four at the back, obviously one less centre back. We looked a lot more fluid going forward. Naturally, because naturally you're going to have an extra attacking player on the pitch. I think for the players we've got at the moment, the three at the back does suit us better. But we did look really sharp at that. So it's promising to see that, we look so fluid in different formations. And as I said, it's a great option to have for different games, different opposition. And, if games aren't quite going your way, you can switch it up and know that you can still play just as well in a different system. I think that's a sign of a great coach and players that are really buying into what's being said by the manager and the work being done on the training ground. But obviously, we go 2-0 up, and it's quite calamitous circumstances, very Spursy. A ball whipped in, a really good ball whipped in by Hakim Ziyech, but the lack of communication between Tanganga and Ben Davies is just comical at the back. It really is. I mean, Tanganga goes for the headed clearance. He just heads it straight into Ben Davies. It hits Davies and goes straight in for an own goal. And I mean,
what do you think Spurs think? Let's say there's an equivalent, Spurs Sisters channel, and they're on there now. What do you think they actually think? Like, what do you think they actually think?
It's just typical, isn't it? I mean, look, these things do happen. You see comical own goals. I mean, we've scored a few own goals ourselves this season. The Reece James one against Villa, obviously not quite like that, but own goals do happen and these things do happen. But you know, in a big semi-final, you know, you can't afford for that sort of thing to happen. There's got to be better communication defensively. You know, who's giving who the call. And to be fair, it was no more than we deserved. It is a good ball in by Ziyech, and his delivery is spot on. But from a Tottenham perspective, there wasn't really anyone around them attacking wise. You've got to deal with that, and you know, to head it straight into a player and then for it to then go in, it's just laughable. But at that point, 2-0 up inside 35 minutes, you're thinking if we can get one more, that's tie over.
Yeah.
And we do have a really good chance. Hakim Ziyech, we just touched on his delivery, a great ball in, and Lukaku with a header that just goes inches wide of the post. Really, Rom needs to be scoring that, and if he does score that, it's that, as you say, that's kind of our place in the final secured.
Yeah. I think it was a little bit strange after we went 2 up. I felt like we potentially went a little bit off the pace in the final third, or in the attacking sense. I know we created chances and we did well, and we looked dangerous, but I don't know how much hunger there was. Obviously, we've substitutions, etc. Probably the team was feeling quite comfortable with the 2-0. But it was a shame, in my view, that we weren't able to net a third, particularly with the chances that we had. And with the side clicking in the way that we were, it would be really nice to run away with that and to really start getting some confidence in the side. Not that we looked as though we lacked it, but, you know, when you get a runaway win, 3-4-0, in a big game like this, it can really change a side's sort of fortunes round. And it felt like potentially a chance for that. So I was a little bit upset not to see us net a third, net a fourth, and make it a really commanding win. Not that it wasn't already, but you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, but we look, the tie is, we've definitely got 1 foot in the final, but 2-0 is a dangerous scoreline going into a second leg. So if you let one in the second leg, you're suddenly like, things become a little bit shaky. I'm not saying we will, but you can envisage situations where that does happen. So to get the third goal would have been the icing on the cake, but I don't think we can complain too much. But I mean, particularly in that first half, I mean, we were really good, but can you believe how bad Spurs were, considering how they've improved under Conte? A big semi-final, and this is a much bigger game for Spurs than it is for Chelsea, because for Spurs making finals is not a common thing, and for them to win trophies, they haven't won a trophy for a long, long time. So, are you surprised that in a massive game, biggest game of the season, how poor they were?
Yeah, particularly with the side they started with, you know, full strength. It was I don't understand what happened there. I don't get it. You know, particularly, I don't know how you feel about Conte, but I got love for Conte.
He didn't get a great reception.
I was about
to be expected. Though, at the end of the day, he won us an FA Cup and he won us a Premier League. Fantastic. Always be respected for that. But the way he kind of handled the Diego Costa issue, the way that he sued the club, took them through the courts. And you know, article in a Telegraph this week even, you know, saying that how they basically fell out, the fact that, you know, he wanted a lot of players, he didn't get them. You know, standard if Conte doesn't get what he wants, he's not afraid to put his toys out the pram and leave. And I think, you know, the way the fans feel is that the fact that the way he treated Costa and the fact that he took Chelsea through the courts, you know, the likes of Mourinho and stuff, that tells Chelsea, like, you know, doesn't accept the payoff from Chelsea, or he doesn't, he gives it away or whatever. You know, the fact that Conte took us through the courts, I think that's why a lot of fans feel badly towards him in terms of that. But they don't, like, obviously fully respect what he did at the club. But yeah, I mean, I think Conte is showing good things at Spurs, but I think it's just a Spurs thing. The mentality is clear that they haven't got big game mentality, and you know, Conte afterwards saying they're still a long way away. They are improving under him. They've definitely got a chance for the top 4 this season, but they need investment, and the gap in quality between Spurs and the big boys is still large. But I mean, I don't know why they were so poor last night. It was really surprising because I thought they'd be bang up for it.
I thought they'd come out firing. I'm really surprised that they didn't put us under more pressure. There was, 10-minute period at the start of the second half where I thought, oh, maybe there's going to be a game here. But apart from that, it was absolutely nothing. I know we played well, and I know we pressed hard, and in a way we didn't allow them to get into it. But also, there didn't seem much fight there. I still strongly believe that the revolution at Tottenham will need to take place in the minds of the people at the club. I don't necessarily think that any amount of money or any amount of this or that or coaching or manager or, you know, star player is going to change what really fundamentally needs to change at Tottenham, and that's the mindset, and that's the idea that we can dominate the Premier League and we can dominate Europe. There isn't that mindset. Chelsea, there is that mindset. You have it at Liverpool. You've got it. You've got spades in City right now. They turn up to every single game.
It's a winning culture. Tottenham don't have a winning culture.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily think they're interested in the winning culture. I think that comes from the top. I don't really know how much Levy is interested about winning. I think he's a bottom line guy.
He's a business guy, isn't he? But if it doesn't work out for Conte, you can say now that it's not managers, it's the culture of the club, it's the players, it's the people above. Because they've had Pochettino, they've had Mourinho, and now they've got Conte. If Conte and Mourinho can't win Tottenham trophies, who's going to win Tottenham a trophy? Let's be honest. They need to back the manager. They need to spend money and give Conte what he needs. Because Conte, I think, if he's backed properly and given the tools that he wants, I think he can make. I'm not saying he's going to make Tottenham Premier League winners, absolutely not. But he can make them kind of top four regulars and do something in a domestic cup, certainly. But yeah, they were so poor last night, really poor. I mean, moving into the second half, not an awful lot changed. We still dominated the game, but Timo came on. I mean, he looked sharp, but again, he just looks bereft of confidence in front of goal. And he should do. I'm not saying he should score that with an amazing pass by Ziyech. I'm not saying that Werner should score, but he kind of just he doesn't do anything with it. He should be doing a lot more with that. He tries to lob, and it just doesn't really happen for him. But I mean, other than that, I thought we were pretty assured in the second half. We held station well. It's a shame we couldn't get that third, but it was vitally crucial that we didn't, have any lapses in concentration and let Spurs back in to get a goal, which would have really kind of got their hopes up ahead of that second leg. But I mean, ultimately, kind of just a professional performance, I guess, in that second half.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, like I was saying, shame not to make it 3, shame not to make it 4, and for a real confidence booster, because I really believe in the power of that. I really believe in the sort of the media buzz that comes from a dominant sort of trouncing in a big game like that can really G up, yes, a fan base, but also the squad, the team, the club itself. So it's a shame not to see that. I thought the performance was solid. I really couldn't fault us in the second half. I think we did really well. Good players. Ziyech continued to play well. It was Lukaku last night. Maybe we'll talk about him separately or whatever. It was a shame. It's a shame. I felt as though it was an opportunity for him. It would have been great. That's all we needed last night was just Rom to net one, and he had his chances. Well, he had one
big chance. Yeah,
one big chance. We will see what happens there. I feel confident that he's going to be able to.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Going to be able to make it happen, but we will see. Obviously, there's a little bit of scar tissue, a decent amount of scar tissue when it comes to strikers at Chelsea, and you're constantly fearful until something works out as to whether or not it's actually going to work out. So we will see what happens there. So he was a little bit of a letdown, a little bit of a sore spot for me in the second half. But apart from that, and our lack of a third or a fourth, good second half.
Good second half. We see Ruben Loftus-Cheek make his 100th appearance for the club. We see Harvey Vale making his home debut as well at Stamford Bridge. One for the future. Probably see more of him against Chesterfield at the weekend. Yeah. But yeah, all in all, a very, very professional performance, and it's definitely 1 foot in the final. We've still got a professional job to go and do at Tottenham next week. Obviously, we are unbeaten in our last 3 against Spurs now. London is well and truly blue. Just before we move on to the ratings, what do you think of the Carabao Cup? How important is it to you? Obviously, you're almost in the final now, so you want to win it. But generally speaking, what are your thoughts on it? Because it does come in for a lot of flack. But if you look at it over the years, Man City 4 in a row, it's always the big teams that end up making the semi-finals and the finals. So obviously, despite what people think about it, clubs do take it seriously.
I don't get the format. What are we doing 2 legs for?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I don't think there's any fan who's like, yeah, this is a great idea. Let's have a 2-legged
semi. Yeah, don't need it.
Because
for a domestic cup as well. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
What are you talking? That makes 0 sense. We'll play in London, then we'll go play in London.
Well, it's just money at the end of the day, but yeah.
It's stupid. Anyway, apart from that, I got love for it. and it is never miss out a chance on, to deprive Spurs of silverware. Never miss out on a chance to, boost our own trophy cabinet, and it can, and these things matter.
Yeah, they do.
Just at the end of the day, are judged on silverware. Sides at the end of the day are judged on silverware. So and it is a piece of silverware, especially if you get, as we consistently do, get big tides involved in the semis and the finals. Yeah. So there'll be juicy games. There'll be juicy games that matter to clubs. Likelihood is we'll get through to the final. That's going to be a big game for us.
Big games, yeah.
It matters to me personally, and it matters to the fans. I think it matters to the players as well. So I'm not against it. The format's stupid, but I'm for it.
And at the end of the day, any trophy is most welcome at the club. Look, Tuchel's not going to be judged on whether he wins the Carabao Cup or not. But now that we're in this position, we want to add trophies to the cabinet, and this would be a great one to add. I feel like this Chelsea squad is one that constantly needs to win to stay motivated, whether that's the Club World Cup coming up, etc. We just need to keep adding trophies, keep winning, and that'll reinforce that winning culture that's at the club, and it'll push the players on to win again, because as much as losing becomes a habit, winning's a habit, and it's a great habit to have, and you feel great when you win. So yeah, the Carabao Cup is the next opportunity to win a trophy. Well, next opportunity to get to a final. Then we've got the Club World Cup next month as well. We need to add that to the cabinet. So yeah, it's all looking pretty rosy at the Bridge at the moment. We're second in the league, Carabao Cup, almost 1 foot in the final, last 16 in the Champions League, and the FA Cup campaign kicks off this weekend. So it's not all bad at the Bridge. We just need a couple of signings to come in now in this January window, and we're ready for a big second half of the season. But let's get into these player ratings now, then we'll just rattle through these. Starting in goal then, obviously Mendy's gone off to the African Cup of Nations with Senegal, wishing him all the best there. Kepa back between the sticks. I thought he was good last night. I'm really pleased with Kepa at the moment. Tuchel was full of praise for him, saying, he is a number one goalkeeper. He's kind of stepped up. Every time Kepa's been used under Tuchel, he's stepped up and he's delivered. Admittedly, didn't have an awful lot to do last night, but I was really impressed with him. And the way that Tuchel's man management kind of transformed his situation compared to what it was under Lampard, under Sarri, etc. It has been quite a remarkable turnaround. And I'm not bothered about Kepa being in goal for the next month at all, to be honest. What did you make of his performance? I think a 7 or a 7.5 from him.
Yeah, I think 7.5 is accurate. I mean, he didn't have a great deal to do. When he was called upon, he was faultless. Big save in the second half, which stopped a really nasty sort of last 10 minutes. It was around the 80-minute mark. I forget who hit it, but it was a good save, one-handed save on his left, sharp. And I got love for Kepa. I think it says a lot about him as an individual and a lot about Tuchel, about the way the situation is being managed. Kepa's being a real professional, and I think that reflects on him really well. And he's when he's called upon, he does well. But it also says that Tuchel gives him time. Tuchel speaks to him. Tuchel spends one time and says, "Look, dude, you're a key part of this team," and I'm confident that that's going to be repaid over the next month.
Yeah, 100%. A really good performance from Kepa, and kind of showing why we did pay that money for him. So I think there is a really good goalkeeper in there. The people seem to forget that sometimes it can take goalkeepers a little bit longer. De Gea, when he first came over, was dreadful for a few years, and now look at him. So yeah, goalkeepers will go through dips in form like everyone else, but Kepa seems to be on the top of his game at the moment. That's credit to him and the way that he's been managed. Let's move into the back line. Obviously, what started as a back four. Let's start with Malang Sarr. Someone for me that obviously coming on a free transfer under Frank Lampard in that window with Havertz and Werner. Probably someone that's picked up on a free, and Chelsea will look to maybe sell on for a profit at some point. But when he's been called upon this season, he has been pretty decent. He's obviously played a lot in the Carabao Cup. I think he's played in every round. Considering the players we had unavailable at the back, Malang Sarr really stepped up last night, and a really impressive performance from him. I was really pleased with how he did, and showing how vital he can be to the squad this season, with so many games coming up.
Mate, Malang Sarr was commanding last night. I like him. I like that guy. I think he's cool. I think strong physical guy. He's well built. He's clearly been doing work in the weight room and all the rest of it. He's got really good strength and attitude on the pitch as well. Clearly communicating well, feels as though he's part of that team, feels as though he's a strong part of that first team squad. And when he comes out, and particularly last night, I thought he was brilliant. I was really happy with how he played.
Mate, I thought it was exceptional. I'd give him an 8 out of 10. I thought it was really, really good. Probably one of his best performances in a Chelsea shirt.
No doubt. I'm having a mind blank. Where's he from?
I think I don't know if he's French, maybe. Or possibly, yeah, maybe. I think he is French, possibly. I don't actually know, but he played really well last night, really well. Moving on to his centre back partner, Rudiger. Obviously, Rudiger in a back four. I thought he was okay last night. He definitely wasn't. He wasn't as good as Malang Sarr, but I thought he played pretty well. He was solid doing Rudiger things that he does, and I wish Chelsea would just give him the money and he'd sign the contract.
I don't know what's going to happen there.
There seems a bit of renewed optimism around the club that he could.
Here we go.
They seem more optimistic that he might stay now than perhaps a few weeks ago. But again, it's still up in the air. He can obviously speak to other clubs at the moment. I'm sure his agent is sounding out other clubs to see what they're offering, etc. But that aside, I thought Rudiger was solid again last night, and he's been one of our most dependent performers on the pitch this season. But for me, probably a 7 out of 10. He wasn't quite as good as Sarr, but when he was called upon, he did really well.
Yeah. It's Rudiger, man. It's just how he rolls, and he's great for these games as well. He's really, really good for these games. I think that Rudiger, at the very least, provides belief and fight and determination for the side, regardless of his performance. I always think Rudiger offers us something, and particularly in derby games, particularly in cup games, big games. Rudiger is an essential part of this Chelsea side, and I really hope that we're able to work it out with him. I really, really do.
Yeah, no, I do as well. I thought it was really good last night. Moving on to the two fullbacks then. Let's start with Azpilicueta. I've been fairly harsh on his ratings in recent weeks on the channel. I kind of felt it's been warranted. Fair play to him last night. I thought he stepped up and he was really good. Yes, one of Aspi's best performances in a Chelsea shirt for quite a while now. The guy knows what it means to play in big games against Tottenham, London derby, and he stood up and delivered. He really did well down that right hand side. Good stuff with Hakim Ziyech, defended well, it was great to see Dave back to somewhere near his best after kind of struggling in recent weeks. And with the injuries we've got at the moment in the back line, he's probably going to have to play a bit more than maybe Tuchel was wanting him to, and perhaps he was maybe expecting to himself. But yeah, I thought a really good performance from Dave last night. I'll probably give him a 7.5.
Yeah, I agree. I thought he looked fit too. Didn't look tired, which was pleasing. And it's easy when it's clicking, and it was clicking last night. But I don't think that's an accident. I think everyone had their part to play, and I'm happy. I'm really, really happy with how everyone did. I think Dave was a big part of that. I don't think 7.5 is unrealistic. I think he was as good as anyone in the back line. Maybe not as an outstanding a performance as Malang Sarr, but looked organised as always, and some decent attacking play too.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree with that. Moving on to the other side, Marcos Alonso. He's coming to stick in recent weeks, mate. He was really good as well last night. Great assist for the Havertz goal. I thought he looked dangerous going forward. He defended pretty well as well. A much, much better performance from Alonso in this game, and somewhere close to the performances that we'd like to see from him on a more regular basis. Obviously, we still need to bring in a left wing back in this window because Alonso can't play every game for the rest of the season. But again, a much improved showing from him as well, and kind of showing what he can offer to this side.
Yeah. It's difficult, really, isn't it? When you feel as though a player is essentially done and then performances come back, you don't really know what to say about it. All the evidence suggests that Alonso is probably reaching the end of his Chelsea career, and his performances this season I don't think have been good. The lack of Chilwell and the necessity for Alonso to play big minutes has been a little bit of a sort of thorn in my side or our side, and it's been generally quite uncomfortable viewing. But last night, I thought he was as good as any. I thought he was brilliant. I think he played well. Good anticipation. That's something that tends to annoy me a little bit about Alonso. Is he just looks a little bit slow off the mark. He's not the quickest. He's not particularly sharp, but he was sharp last night.
Yeah.
And pretty happy days. Nice result. well played.
Yeah, no, 100%. Before we get to Saul Ziyech, who had his best game in a Chelsea shirt by a country mile, let's go with Jorginho back in the side. After being on the bench in the weekend, I think probably only starting perhaps because N'Golo Kante had COVID. I thought Jorginho did okay. Definitely not as good as Saul Ziyech last night, but he was solid. What did you make of Jorginho's performance in that midfield?
Yeah, I suppose I was probably most happy with it defensively. You know, he won the ball back a few key times, and it makes a big difference. You know, it's something that I think lacks in his game, and I think we all know that. He doesn't advertise himself as someone who presses or as he's not making, you know, statement challenges. But he won the ball back a few key moments, and I thought, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what we're after, George. That's the energy. I enjoyed that a lot, and I was happy to see that. Ultimately, you know, if I were to be critical, I felt as though he slowed things down at times where I didn't think we need it. But that is George's game, and we've benefited it from a lot since he joined the club. So, not the best performance last night. Probably give him a 6.
I'd probably give him a 6 as well. Not amazing, but he did do bits. To be fair, he wasn't bad by any means.
He was better than average.
I mean, moving on to Saul Ziyech, I mean, this guy it's almost like he's finally arrived from Madrid and he's remembered how to play football again. This was his best performance in the Chelsea shirt by a long way. The kind of the revival sort of seemed to start when he came on in the second half against Wolves. He did well against Brentford in the Cup as well in the previous round. And mate, he was sourcing last night. The Paella Balak, as he's been called on Twitter. The guy was class. And I'm just going to bring I won't bring his stats up because I have to stop sharing that screen. But basically, Saul Ziyech's numbers last night: 100% long ball accuracy, 89% pass accuracy, 69 touches, 55 passes, 6 tackles, most in the game, 3 interceptions, equal most, 2 shots and 2 chances created. He did dominate the midfield. I mean, what did you make of Saul Ziyech last night? I mean,
what's that about?
I don't know what's happened there. I don't know where that came from, but he was exceptional last night. Chelsea are unlikely. It's been reported unlikely to take up the 30 million buy option. I think that's fairly obvious knowledge, but it's great to see that that Saul actually can be useful for the rest of the season. I think he will continue to play quite a few minutes given all the competitions we're still in, but he just dominated that midfield last night. He was the best. Honestly, he's probably the best player on the pitch.
I thought he was fantastic. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. And it's great to see someone bounce back from a difficult start. You know, it's such a short-term, well, even outside of football, it's a short-term society. It's a short-term footballing society for sure. It's a short-term football world. You know, if you don't come out the blocks flying as a new signing at a top club, it can be a bit of a slippery slope. And it's great to see Saul putting in a solid performance that I think he knows he's been capable of. I think anyone who's watched him throughout his career knows that he's got that in his locker, and it's been a frustration for him, I think. A big frustration that he hasn't been able to replicate that on the pitch. It's nice to see him him talk about the support that he's had from Tuchel, and it's nice. It's a great thing to see, and I think, as you say, it's unlikely that we'll keep him on, saving an insane rest of the season, and it's good to see that he's going to be useful for us.
Yeah, no, he was fantastic, really, really good. I think I'll probably give him a 9.
Take it, Saul.
Yeah, Saul Ziyech, best game in a Chelsea shirt by a long way, dominated that midfield. The Paella Balak back in business, and maybe Saul Ziyech for the Ballon d'Or next year. Who knows? Moving on to kind of the 2 hybrid positions. Another man who was sourcing last night, Hakim Ziyech, one of his best games in a Chelsea shirt as well. Looks really dangerous. Great going forward, great delivery again. Seemed like he had a bit more confidence about him. I know that seems to have been missing when he's played. I know he's not played a lot, but these kind of performances are the reason why the club signed him in the first place. And if he could just deliver on a slightly more consistent basis, then we'd have a real player on our hands. I mean, because without doubt, the technical ability the guy's got is outstanding. But again, just needs to unlock it on a consistent basis. But I thought in this kind of new system, he thrived a lot more than he has done in the 3-4-3 or 3-5-2, etc. What did you make of his night?
I thought he was great. I thought, it's this sort of form that before he came to Chelsea, you'd watch Ajax play and you'd see Ziyech putting in those performances in Champions League and stuff like that, and you'd think, yes, my guy, I can't believe that we're going to be signing this dude. I cannot wait to have him at this club. And those performances have been lacking. And it was great to see it last night. Hopefully we can see more of it. And hopefully he begins to find his feet on a more consistent basis. It's all about consistency. We know that Ziyech can play football. We know that he's got flair and talent and game-changing ability. But is he able to produce it on a consistent basis? And that's the question that, everyone asks about, not just footballers, but sportsmen in general. And it will ultimately determine how he's remembered. So fingers crossed he can start putting these performances in more regularly.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, his numbers last night, 90% pass accuracy, 50 touches, 4 take-ons attempted. That was the most in the game. 4 chances created, equal most. 3 shots, equal most. 2 fouls, 1 equal most. 1 tackle and 1 interception. He was really, really good last night. Perhaps not quite as good as Saul Ziyech. I'll give him an 8.5.
Yeah.
He was really, really good. Moving to the other side, Mason Mount, I thought he looked good. More of a number 8 position for him. Looked equally comfortable there as he does in that usual front three. A bit of a quieter game for Mount, though. Look, his pressing was there. He did well. He looked comfortable. But not really any real standout moments. And he will obviously have better games in the Chelsea shirt. He has just been nominated for the December Player of the Month. He had a really great month in December despite the club's struggles. He did well on a personal note. But yeah, didn't really light this game up as he has done in previous games. I'd just say kind of a fairly solid performance from Mason.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Which is, which is no bad thing, I suppose. I don't know. It didn't look as though he was feeling it last night, but he was still able to put in a solid performance. There weren't any mistakes. There weren't any notable slip-ups. I thought, I would describe it as solid. And it's difficult to talk about it a great deal else, really, because there wasn't much else to talk about. The usual work rate, the usual tenacity, but as you say, didn't really light things up. But that's not a problem for me. I give him a 5.5 or a 6.
Yeah, I think a 6 is fair for Mount. Let's move on to Romelu Lukaku back in the starting lineup. Excuse me, in a front 2 system here. What he used to play at Inter Milan, essentially in a 2. Apart from his finishing, that was a bit off. I thought Rom was average last night. What I was more encouraged about was the positions that this new system allowed him to get into, and the fact he was running channels, etc. Looked really fit. All that was missing really was that accuracy for the finish with a header, and that kind of would have been a good game for him. But to be fair, probably about a 5.5 for Lukaku, but it's the road to redemption now, and I fully back him. But last night, not one of his best games. Encouraging though, the positions this system allowed him to get into. What did you make of him?
Yeah, I want him to do well so bad. I really want this guy to achieve. I really, really want Lukaku to be who he could be. He's big, imposing guy. Sort of, similar ilk to Drogba in a way, of the physical presence. There's a sort of subcurrent and undertone of that he could be the heir to the throne of Didier, and everyone wants that to happen, and it's ripe to happen. So let's see. I certainly back him. I hope that he's able to do it. I think a large part on his ability to reach the heights that we all feel as though he can at Chelsea is going to be down to how we play with him. And we shall see. I thought last night was a shame. It would have been great if he could have got on the score sheet, shown his love, shown his gratitude, shown his apology to the fans last night. But his time will come for that. And I'm not fearful. I give him a 5.5.
Yeah, 5.5. And it was great to see when the Spurs fans were singing an Inter Milan song, and when we went 2-0 up, Lukaku just gave them a little shush. So that was
Yeah, nice.
that was nice from him. But ultimately, yeah, not one of his best games, but there were encouraging signs there. But yeah, can't really give him much more than a 5.5. To round out the ratings, then Kai Havertz gets the goal. Obviously, dislocates his finger, comes off at half time. I thought his performance was okay. Showed glimpses, but obviously was in pain with that dislocated finger. Took his goal well, picked up some good positions, but yeah, I guess it was promising, but could have been better, I guess.
Yeah, it could have been. He's a languid guy. He's got Berbatov vibes. He's got Ozil vibes. And I've spoken about this with you before. You know, it's difficult when those players don't perform at their top level because it can look as though they're being lackluster. And I felt that about Havertz last night at times. He was obviously carrying a sort of injury, and it's always difficult to judge players like that came off at half time. We will see. We spoke about him earlier. We will see. We will see. We will see. He's another one who I'm desperately hope they're able to fulfill their potential at the club. Obviously, still a young player, but I am, reserving judgment for the time being.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, to be honest, he took the goal. I'll probably give him a 6.5 for that first half performance. And just lastly, we'll rate Timo Werner because he actually played a whole half. I thought hadn't played for a while with obviously COVID, etc. I thought he looked sharp when he came on, lots of energy. But the biggest problem for me was just like lack of confidence in front of goal. And I just feel that he's always looking down when he's got the ball. And then by the time he looks up, all his options he's got are kind of minimised. And I feel it's kind of why he constantly misses chances and makes the wrong pass because he's always looking down when he's got the ball. And he kind of needs to learn how to play without looking at the ball because when he's just running, looking at the ball, he's not seeing the options that are ahead of him. And then when he gets his head up, those options are gone and he has to try something different, Should do better with that chance from a worldy Ziyech ball, but he looks sharp. But again, he's got to do better as well. He's another one that I feel that if he doesn't really push on for the rest of the season, he'll be shipped on in the summer. But he was, I probably give him a 6 out of 10. He was above average, I think. But again, just kind of like same Werner problems.
Yeah, he's going to be offside at least 3 or 4 times a game if he plays a full match. He's going to miss at least one sitter and at least 2 chances if he plays a full 90 minutes. That's just how it goes. But you cannot deny that when he's on the pitch, we tend to look more dangerous going ahead, or we don't lose potency moving forward. It's just that we lack the final product. He gets in great positions, stretches the game. He's a threat because of his pace. But everyone knows the Timo Werner story now, don't they? So
it's like his decision making, his finishing are both quite poor. Yes. And he's not the only one in that Chelsea attack that's got that issue. Quite a lot of them have got that problem. But with him, it's highlighted because he virtually does it every time he plays. As you said, he'll miss a sitter. He'll miss some decent chances. But look, I think he'll probably play again at the weekend against Chesterfield. I think he'll be one of the more senior players involved just because of the fact that he needs minutes. And hopefully he can maybe get some confidence-boosting goals against them. But yeah, not bad. Good to see him back, to have another option in the forward line. But yeah, he has got to do better. But yeah, that obviously rounds out the player rating, so we can stop sharing that. And ultimately a successful night for Chelsea. 1 foot in the final. Another London derby win. As I said, won our last 3 games against Spurs. 2-0 up from the first leg. Go to Tottenham next Wednesday to finish the job off and secure that date at Wembley. That's just myself and Kit's thoughts on the game, our player ratings. As always, guys, if you think any differently, let us know in the comments below. Let us know in the chat. Make sure you do smash a like on this video. Please do subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this live and you haven't clicked that subscribe button, just click it. I really appreciate all the support. Helps me out, helps the channel out, and it'll take you a few seconds. So please do that. And we will catch you in the Chesterfield preview as the FA Cup campaign kicks off this weekend. So yeah, see you tomorrow afternoon at some point for the Chesterfield preview. Thanks, mate, and cheers for tuning in, guys.